Add about some slides, starting with agenda item 4.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, we are live.
We're good. Okay.
Melanie, can you pull up the agenda? Hey, Melanie, can you pull up the agenda?
Are you seeing it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:20 p.m. Public comments. Are there any public comments, or Melanie, were any sent in?
There were no public comments.
Okay. We'll move on to item 3, approve the November 5th, 2020 meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to approve November 5th, 2020 minutes. This is Mayor Frost.
I'll second Mayor Stout.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.
Okay, thank you. So we will be electing a new COG chair and vice chair. The COG chair position was vacated by Nathan Ivy. The responsibility of the chair is to approve the monthly COG agenda items, attend and preside over the monthly COG meetings. The vice chair is responsible to attend the monthly COG meetings and to fill in when the chair is not available. Mayor Miller has been serving as COG's vice chair, and he is available and willing to chair COG if you are so inclined. I had reached out to him to discuss that previous to this meeting. Let's see.
I would nominate Jim Miller to serve as the chair of the Utah County Council of Governors.
Mayor Westmoreland.
My apologies. Please repeat that. We had a lot of background and I muted the person. Sorry.
So this is Mayor Mann. I would nominate Jim Miller to be the chair of the Utah County Council of Governors, the government's.
Yeah, this is Mayor Westmoreland. I'll second that motion.
Any other nominees for chair? If not, we'll entertain nominees for the vice chair.
I'll nominate Mayor Rod Mann as vice chair. This is Mayor Stout.
I'll second that. This is Mayor Johnson.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, we have myself, Mayor Miller, as nominee as chair for the Utah County Council of Governments, and Mayor Mann as the vice chair. I'll entertain a motion.
This is Wendy Prey. I'll move that we elect those Mayor Miller and Mayor Mann as they were nominated as chair and vice chair. Okay, I'll start over. This is Wendy Prey. Do you want the nomination stated or a motion to approve the nominations?
A motion to approve.
Okay, I move that we approve those nominations.
Okay, I have a
Mayor
first-
Leifson, second it.
I have a second, Mayor Leifson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have item 5, UTA Local Advisory Council.
Okay, I will take that. On your screen, I will not go through the statute, but in your packets and on the screen are the statutes for the UTA Local Advisory Council appointee. Our region has 2 members on the UTA Local Advisory Council. Mayor Julie Fulmer fills 1 seat and will continue in this capacity. And there is currently 1 vacant seat that Mayor Acerson was holding prior to him becoming trustee Acerson with UTA. So we have 1 vacant seat. Mayor Mark Johnson has been serving as the alternate, and I reached out to Mayor Johnson and he is interested and willing to fill that vacant seat. And regarding the alternate seat, UTA does not require that we have an alternate seat. However, it is up to COG. If you would like to have an alternate to fill in, that is up to COG.
So this is Commissioner Lee. I'll nominate Mayor Johnson to fill that advisory seat.
This is Wendy Prey. Can I ask Mayor Johnson, have you found it to be helpful for us to have an alternate in that spot?
So as an alternate, you basically just show up and listen. I never did have an opportunity to participate in the meeting. There was always an adequate quorum, if you will, so you don't move up. But I think it is beneficial to be there and at least listen in. And it is kind of difficult to get up there for the meetings, but actually Zoom has made it a lot easier to just, to listen into those meetings. And I think it's somewhat beneficial, yes.
So we have a nomination for Mayor Johnson. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. And Mayor Wright.
All right, so we have a first and a second. Any other nominations? Okay, so we'll move on to, before we approve everything, do we want to, as a council, have the alternate? And are there any nominations or volunteers? Okay, we will just go forward with 2 voting members at this time. I will entertain a motion for Mayor Johnson to be appointed.
I'll make the motion for Mayor Johnson to be appointed. Mayor Wright.
Mayor Fugel, I'll second that.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We're on item 6. Okay.
Yes. Okay, would you like me to take that, Mayor Miller?
Go for it.
All right, item number 6 is to nominate a UTA Community Advisory Committee member. This is a different committee from the Local Advisory Council. The UTA Community Advisory Committee, and it's short, we're going to call it the CAC. It was created to bring community and transit rider perspective back to UTA. It helps inform priority setting and decision making, and the CAC is important in elevating community voice and perspective. The community was originally formed in 2017. However, it's been revamped and reorganized, and they reached out to us to ask for COG to consider appointing a member of the committee. The commitment is that there's 4 meetings per year and additional opportunities as needed. They do ask that the committee members serve at least 1 2-year term, and there is potential for a consecutive term. And then there's member expectations. They're looking for some active participants in the committee that can attend the meetings and really bring our region's voice to the membership. Previously, it does not have to be an elected official. Previous members include Brett McKenchie. He was appointed by the UVU Professional Association of Campus Employees. Our region also has a member that was nominated by the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce, and that is Marina Algalor. And so we wanted to open it up and discuss who COG thinks should sit on this committee for UTA.
Okay. Any comments? not everybody at once.
Mayor Miller, this is Commissioner Lee. I think it's valuable to have somebody that actually uses the system to be on that committee. I think that would be invaluable to UTA. I have not personally reached out to anybody that I know that actually does that on a consistent basis. But if others have members, I think that would be fantastic. But if we need more time, I mean, I could, and I'm sure the others could as well, to reach out and find individuals who probably fit that criteria. But right now, I don't have any.
So this is Mayor Brunston. I agree with Commissioner Lee, and I think we probably need some additional time to determine. I would like to see a member of the community rather than an elected official, and somebody who rides the bus on a regular basis.
Okay. What I can do is send a follow-up email to all of COG to be thinking about who this member could be. I know UTA is anxious to get the new member, and so I don't know that they would be happy to wait until our next COG meeting, but perhaps we can do a nomination process via email or call a special COG meeting to approve the membership.
Yeah, Michelle, I think UTA would be just fine. We're really wanting someone that actively uses the system, as Commissioner Lee and Mayor Brunson said. That would provide the most valuable feedback that would be useful for this community person that would be involved. So I think time-wise, I'd rather have them take some time and pick somebody that they feel would be committed and engaged than just giving a name. So.
Okay, thank you.
And I might have a name because we had a council member that used to that rode UTA when he was on the council, and he might be willing to serve on this committee. I could reach out to him and see.
Okay, so I will do follow-up. I'll send out the detailed description of the committee and what they're looking for in a member. And then if you all could possibly reply back with potential names for me, and then we can present those to COG in March. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Melanie, would you be able to put back up the agenda, please?
We're on item 7, the Utah Lake Authority legislation. Mayor Frost. Did we lose Mayor Frost?
You're muted, Mayor Frost.
Got it. Sorry. Still running into that little problem. Wearing a couple hats tonight. Maybe 3, and when I talk about this. I am a mayor, as many of you are, or elected official. I chair the Utah Lake Commission, although I don't feel like I can speak in their behalf. We have not formally, we're going to meet, I think next week is what we're looking to do. But also just as a citizen that grew up in Utah County and by the lake. And so if you have not seen the draft proposal of what they're considering is called the Utah Lake Authority, it's because you perhaps you're not a member of the Utah Lake Commission. That draft proposal has been sent out to the commission members with strict guidance not to share it outside of just a certain realm of individuals within their sphere, their mayors and their legal counsel. And so I'm not sure who has a proposal, and I'm not here to really go through it line by line. It will be introduced, I've been told, Monday at the state level. If I could characterize it, I'm going to try not to have a lot of bias. It might be very difficult for me to not show that. But if I could characterize it, what it is something akin, and it even references in there the Inland Port Authority. And that overlay would be over Utah Lake and a half-mile radius. But there is language in there that has touch points to even the half-mile radius and beyond, with ideas of, it has words like respect or consult. And so I'm very concerned about it. I'm concerned about it in the manner that it's being rolled out. This is not just some small piece of legislation with a minor tweak. It's basically taking over a great big plot of land in our county. And when I say that, you have to include the lake bed in that. And so that lake bed is currently under the jurisdiction of the state. And then the radius around it would be a economic driver to provide funds within the authority itself. And so this would be a new government entity that would be established here in Utah County. We have in the commission, we have a goal. They're very similar to what the authority is stating as well. The health of the lake is the utmost important to us. We have been working diligently over several years to promote the health of the lake. We have targeted the endangered species and brought a fish back into off of that list, the June sucker. We have within that, we have the scientific personnel from the state, that being the DWQ, DNR, the State Forest, Fire and Lands individuals. And this is a really big move from where the lake has been. But one cannot doubt at least the objective of the Utah Lake Authority. We lack the resources, but we are coming up with the science. And to make this and understand the lake, what it is, what it isn't. There's conflicting opinions on what, as far as the phosphorus levels. And we are trying to understand that, and that information should be disseminating out to the mayors. And if it's not, please just talk to the person that is on the board. We would like to think that we have the tool belt to do this. I think that in Utah County, and as we work together as mayors, there is not confusion, as some might say, amongst how we operate and how we work together as neighbors. So I feel like the tools are there. And I think that this authority and what it can and cannot do is something that we ought to have on our radar. And when I say radar, I think on Monday, when that is released, if you don't currently have a copy, you need to get one in your hands and you need to understand it. I would say that if you've had any kind of a meeting with anybody, that make sure that when that copy comes back, that it's the written word that you need to hold by, not anything that's been said or promised. But the bill itself speaks volumes. And even what it doesn't say speaks volumes. It's very broad and has words that are somewhat, I would say, encouraging that they might work with an individual or a city or a municipality. But words like respect and consult, to me, does not mandate anything that they do. It's somewhat subjective. Again, that's my opinion. But I would encourage you all to read this bill. If you think that it's not within your purview because you don't reside near the lake and have property within it, then you're misled. That bill has every bit to reach to every person in Utah County, and it will do that through districts. If you have a sewer district in there, well, this authority will now encompass all the sewer districts. So now the implications on that, I'm not going to be speculative. I'm going to have you read the bill and then understand it yourself, rather than me try to determine what that is. And so I would just encourage everybody to keep this on your radar and be very vigilant. It's very likely I'm going to be petitioning, and we have to kind of draw a line with this one way or the other, and see where we as mayors, I think, kind of come out on this. I do think it's going to take unity if it's something we're not comfortable with. And so I'm fine with being at least a point person on this. But I would again encourage you to read every word, and don't think, again, I'm just going to remind you because I think it's worthy of repeating, because you're not a lakeshore property. People that have cities that have lakeshore property impacts them immensely. And I could even defer to Mayor Miller on this and how it'll affect his city. our city is affected by it. The board does not represent everybody that has lake front property. Lehigh is left off that board. It brings people from outside of our county that have governing power over our county in some fashion. And so I don't want to be fear mongering, but I want to make sure everybody sees this bill, reads it, and reads it through a lens that it has the ability to perhaps affect everybody in this county of one sort or another. And again, the Lake Commission has the tool belt to understand data and to make suggestions back. The funding mechanism, we can come up with a number, and then this body, or if we can determine on how that might be funded. And absolutely, we're going to need the help of the state of Utah. But again, we have to consider this is a state, a lake that is owned by the state of Utah. But we can help them. We can absolutely give them good sound advice and go through a good study mechanism. So I just wanted to present that. I really don't want to pick it apart line by line. It's very lengthy, but I just want to make sure everybody has it on their radar. And if you don't, wait till Monday and then I can funnel a copy to every mayor and they can read it.
Well, Mayor Frost, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Was it I was on that call, and Linden has some shorefront property, and we're not included in having a seat at the table as far as part of the governing potential board that'll go forward, which was a little. I thought, well, at least all the cities that have shore property should probably be at the table, but it didn't seem to be that to be the case. But the state agencies that have currently been working with the Utah Lake Commission, I was really kind of surprised that I don't want to say they were pushing back, but they were asking a lot of questions. Well, how does that affect these state agencies that are already committed and working and trying to help make progress? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's a concern that I have as well. They are no longer to have standing. Now, they might have to be able to consult, but as far as the governing board, they have no representation to that, unless they're appointed by the governor, the Senate president, or the House of Representative president. So they could be infused in that, but it's vague on who they will have at the board. I guess it's hypothetical. They could put a representative from the governors, or one of those I mentioned, from Utah County back on it. But I think that the intent of it is to have some diversity outside of the county as well.
Right. It just didn't feel quite as open of a process that I think really represents good government. But I once again, I don't want to be negative towards it, because it just doesn't, like I think you sense as well. It just seems a little, I don't know, a little unusual how it's coming. So anyway.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Mayor Frost, I think you did a great job. As a city for Saratoga, we've spent a lot of time on this the last couple days, because the implication to our community is north of $850,000 in taxes from properties in Saratoga Springs, which is about 50% of the total shoreline grab, I guess, for it. So I think it's a good thing to go and take a look at that Monday and see what the impacts are. Feel free, Mayor Frost has been involved in this. Feel free to reach out to him or myself, or if you want, reach out to city manager here in Saratoga Springs. He's happy to answer any questions that come up from it, since he's been heavily involved with it also.
And to follow that up, Mayor, I think the intent or the hope of this initiative is to bring more resources to the table to help facilitate the reclaiming of the lake and bring it back to the status that it was many, many years ago. That's, I guess, the vision of what's being represented here. Is that correct, Mayor Frost? Don't you feel that that's what they're trying to?
Yeah, yes, but again, I'll say it's the same vision we have as the commission.
And I agree.
But we don't, but the tools, the financial tools, no, we do not currently have.
Yeah.
But to restore it, I think it takes some study.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hopefully everyone.
Frost,
Go ahead.
Is it Mayor Frost, Mayor Miller? I'm very interested, but us little towns don't have a lot of staff or a lot of resources, a lot of understanding, or maybe not even time to read a huge bill, to be honest. Please keep us in mind of how we can support, and realize that we might not give a lot of time support, but we want to be active in that as well, because it affects this end of the county a lot too. Me and Marty Larson, I'm sure.
Yeah. Perfect. Will do.
Yes, I echo those sentiments too.
I'll let our staff know that's working on it if there's anything they can do to reach out to your cities and garner support.
It's on our radar too, and I just echo your sentiments about it seeming a little. This process seems a little odd.
I will say this as I've asked about the process, it's been blamed on COVID. And so as I asked to slow the process down, there's no mention of COVID. Even if we could say if that's what slowed it down to actually get it constructed, give us the same ability. And slowing it down is not killing it. Slowing it down is let us see it. And so, but as I've taken a deeper look into us, the Utah Lake Commission is well equipped to be able to provide data. And then perhaps something like this could be considered, but we can operate and be a great resource to the state of Utah for their lake.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Item 8, COG bylaws. Michelle?
Thank you. There are no known bylaws for this body, and so it would be our recommendation that we do create and approve some bylaws. If it is the desire of COG to have bylaws, our team would be happy to draft some bylaws and bring that to COG next month.
I think it's probably a good idea to have some bylaws.
Okay.
So, perfect. We'll look forward to that next month. Okay, business item 9, Utah Open and Public Meetings Act update.
Yes, and in case you missed the Regional Planning Committee, it's the same thing. Everybody in the state of Utah is required to be trained annually on the Utah Open and Public Meetings Act. However, there is legislation happening right now, possibly that makes some changes. So we will postpone doing that training until after the legislative session. And we are talking about having a joint training with Regional Planning Committee and COG, so we don't have to do it back to back one night.
Perfect. Okay, item 10, Wasatch Mental Health and Juvenile Justice Services Partnership.
Yeah, hello, this is Jürgen Korbanka. I'm the director of Wasatch Behavior Health. I know the agenda still refers to us as Wasatch Mental Health, but as many of you might be aware, we actually became Wasatch Behavior Health as of July 1 after being merged with Utah County Substance Use. So we are now actually a comprehensive community mental health center in serving Utah County. We provide services to about 10 to 11,000 Utah County residents every year. We appreciate the opportunity to briefly talk to you about the partnership we have with the Juvenile Justice Services and more specifically our Vantage Point Youth Receiving Center that many of the cities and jurisdictions have taken advantage of in being able to provide services to youth and drop them off if need be. And with the county growing, we plan on expanding that in the North County. We have a very, very strong partnership with JJS, which I think is reflected just by having both Nate Winters, who is the deputy director of JJS, as well as Donovan Bergstrom, who is the program director of the Office of Youth Services at JJS, joining us tonight. We really appreciate that. And because we have 5 people here today doesn't mean we will take 5 times as long as all the other agenda items. I will be very, very brief. I know your time is very valuable. I'm going to let Scott Taylor, who is our Division Director over Crisis and Intensive Services, speak to you briefly, and then Janine Candelot, who's our Program Manager over Vantage Point, will take it from there. Again, I appreciate the opportunity, and Scott, if you want to take it from here.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's time as well. And I just wanted to take a moment. We did send out some information. Hopefully most of you were able to see that. We sent that letter out to most of the municipalities about our program at Vantage Point. Vantage Point has been a unique partnership with Division of Juvenile Justice Services. Began that probably in the early 2000s, and through Vantage Point we're able to really take a look at the teenagers that are struggling, both from a mental health perspective and also from a juvenile justice kind of perspective. And together we're able to prevent a lot of youth from entering in deeper into the juvenile justice system or needing to have, say, inpatient psychiatric care. We have, as most of you know, a crisis shelter, and at that crisis shelter, kids can stay several days. Also, law enforcement who detain youth for some reason that don't qualify for security detention. It's a good place for them to get early intervention. As I mentioned, we really want to try and prevent problems from escalating in your communities. And it's really neat that JJS has this partnership with us. I've had the opportunity to go to program to even national conferences that run these kind of programs that serve runaway and homeless youth and youth in crisis. And there really isn't a collaboration like this very often throughout the country. And through it, we're able to identify the kids in JJS realm of things that really have mental health concerns. And when we have kids with mental health concerns that have JJS kind of issues, we're able to work together with them. And through that process, we're able to serve, your law enforcement agencies and your communities and help families in a lot of great ways. Like I said, we have that emergency shelter, and we also provide ongoing counseling for those families that need it for up to 60 days. And then we can help them even beyond that with other needs that they might have. So with that, I will just turn over to Janine Candelot, who's our program manager over our program in Provo.
Thank you, mayors and council members, for letting us have a few minutes. My name is Janine Candelot. I'm the current program manager over the Provo location of the Vantage Point. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background information as to what is fueling this project. Back in 2019 in the US Census, youth in our catchment area, there was a 24% in growth. And the juvenile justice court judges approached us and asked us for an expansion project of Vantage Point services. And at that point, we had a 23-year history of providing these services to our local community. And at which point too, we, Ann Williamson, who was the Director of Human Services at the time, was also invited to help us in this project. And so in this whole process, it's taken a couple of years, but we've been able to examine how much it costs for our total program, and also with the partnership with our local community supporters such as JJS and DCFS and local law enforcement. Through those supports, we've been able to run a pretty successful program. To currently, our functional expenses, total cost for the Vantage Point expenses is about $1.2 million annually. So that's our operating budget for the Provo location. So we're estimating that it should probably cost roughly the same at the North expansion project as well. So we're using that as kind of an approximate total. All of this money comes from partial R contribution. Some of it comes from JJS contribution through our contracts as well as with DCFS. We're hoping that through this process, they're coming to you in the county and to the cities with the hopes of moving forward to help us be able to become more sustainable in the future, that hopefully the local cities will be able to contribute as well. And that's kind of what we're hoping for as far as coming and approaching you. The four main goals of this program is to help our at-risk youth, who we usually have about 1,100 of them annually that walk through our door. About 200 at-risk youth are through our receiving center, and that's to assist the local law enforcement. So one thing that I really want to point out particularly is our relationship with local law enforcement is very important to us. And we've done a particularly good job in nurturing that relationship through our CIT training, as well as providing this receiving center service for them. And so hopefully in the North County area, our goal is to help the North County law enforcement be able to access receiving center services a lot more efficiently for them, so they don't have to drive all the way down to Provo to access that in the future. So the four basic goals for our program are for the youth is the stable living conditions. We want to improve relationships and permanent connections for these youth. We want to improve social and emotional well-being for them, and that's through the services that we offer every youth that comes in through the door. And we want to help meet the changing needs of education and employment. So each youth that comes into our door will actually be able to access some form of education or school while they're staying with us. And that's something that we do when we partner with the local school districts as well. So if there are any questions, we welcome them at this point.
So where are you considering locating that? That's just Mayor.
So we are looking actually at North American Fork, Lehigh. We can go a little bit further to the west. We'd like to have quick access from one of the major arteries. And one of the things why we are approaching you right now is that JJS is actually willing to provide seed money in the form of $1 million for, they actually want to purchase a building and a facility so that we can actually start operations. So we don't have a location, we don't have a building yet, but we obviously want to go towards the north end of the county.
Those are North AF and Lehigh seem like good choices. Good three-way access.
Yeah.
We're certainly open to any leads that you might have. As you know, the real estate market is a little bit hot right now. I wonder if just 1 second, if our visitors from Juvenile Justice Services would like to say anything about their participation at all. Donovan Bergstrom or Nate Winters, if either of you have anything you'd like to say.
Yeah, this is
sure,
Nate Winters. Go
ahead, Nate. You can go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, thank you for your opportunity, or for the opportunity to meet with you guys and for your time tonight. I know your time is valuable. As Scott and Jurgen pointed out, we are coming into this looking at the growth in northern Utah County, particularly in the youth age, the 10 to 17-year-old. And helping to fund a location for increased services, but also as part of that would be providing an ongoing commitment as well to help fund the program ongoing. So, we're very invested in Utah County and in the youth and in the public safety of Utah County and helping, return law enforcement officers back to the street quickly and having an opportunity to serve the kids there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Donovan.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. And one other thing I really want to stress is that, we're trying to expand our youth service centers in new areas where we're seeing the growth. And just like, Scott and Janine was mentioning, northern Utah County is growing significantly. And for all the new centers, we want to have this partnership with the community. We realize that, if we can get cities involved, we can get county governments involved, that we can sustain this over time. And so we want that partnership from everybody in the community. One thing that's been a top priority for us right now is school safety. And our youth service centers can be a key player in that. We've had a lot of meetings, throughout the state. And one of the positive things about our youth service centers is if a school resource officer, is dealing with a young man or woman who is causing problems at a school or having a disruption, that they can bring them to one of our youth service centers. A lot of times during the school period of time, parents aren't home. And, what do you do with that youth? And, this is going to be just another opportunity for us, to work closely with the schools, with SROs, kids who are suspended. And I think this is going to be a nice partnership here in Utah County.
So what size facility are you looking to purchase? How much space do you need?
Well, we're looking right now for either, as a starter, 4 bedrooms, and maybe room to grow.
So I think about square footage. I think we've been looking at the approximate 3,000 to 4,000 square feet.
And you're thinking about a home?
Yes, we'd like it to be a home setting.
Our goal is to find a home in a place where it fits well in the community around it. So we don't want to disrupt a residential neighborhood. We want to be aware of that. It may be a place that is closer to more commercial or light industrial area that it would be a good fit in, or someplace where we fit in with the community in the right place. Just one last thing is, one of the things that's important to us is to make sure that we have like I said, we sent out that letter. Hopefully some of you have been able to read it. We'd like to know what's the best way for us to follow up after being able to present here with you, for questions, for collaboration, and having you guys become more involved. That's a big question to a big group, but I don't know if anyone has a thought on that.
It's probably best to reach out through staff, through MAG, to get to all the mayors.
Okay.
I know that I had a good meeting with the Lehigh City Administrator. I think his name's Jason. That was one good connection, and with your staff. So I expect that we will continue to follow up, and especially in the areas that we're going to be serving, we want to make sure that we are doing the right things for you communities as well, and that we get your input. Not only are we hoping from some financial support, but just community support as well, and understanding of what we're trying to accomplish to help your communities. I don't think we have anything else. Unless someone has further questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you so much for allowing us to spend a couple minutes with you.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
Item 11, we have the Utah National Parks Council 50/20 event.
Hi, I'm Keith Holdaway. I appreciate your time. I'm actually not with the Utah National Parks Council, even though in the past we have partnered with them. Do any of you know about the 50/20 that's been walking through your cities for about 6 years now? Maybe yes or no? Anyway, the 50/20 is 50 miles in 20 hours. And you can actually walk 3 miles an hour, so you can easily do it just by walking. And the purpose of the event is actually to build character. It was originally designed for our young men. We started letting young women come, and it seems like we get as many young women as we do young men anymore. But it's open for all ages. As a young man growing up, our leaders would take us up to This Is the Place monument, give us $5 in our pocket and wave to us and say, "See you in Provo." And so we'd walk all the way 50 miles down to downtown Provo. And that's a pretty tough thing to do. And I can't tell you the character that built in us. And I did it twice as a youth. And as I served in the BSA with a guy named Steve Baugh, I told him that I wanted to bring it back again. You know, that I kept having thoughts of, our youth today need this more than at any time there ever was. And here's some pictures that I asked Melanie to show. Everyone who participates in it gets a shirt. Everybody who completes it gets this little medal right here. It's a medal that says, well, this one has Orem District. We'll probably change the name of it, but it's I can do hard things. And there's an old man that was just on the screen recently there. That's Grant Holdaway, and he's our oldest participant, 86 years old. And he's done about 7 or 8 of these. But everybody who is willing to do this and go as far as they can is going to grow from it. And we've had about 400 kids do it a year, and we're now looking at maybe. I've talked to the Daily Herald for publicizing it, IHC, and I wanted to get in front of you mayors, because I think one of the greatest things we do is try to build the youth in our cities. And that's actually why I've asked for a little time here, because I think this is one of the best character building events where we can get kids off their cell phones and off video games and out doing something hard. And so I don't know how many of you are actually interested. We've been walking through your cities for 6 years now, but I can envision maybe youth councils getting in, behind this, and maybe cities, and maybe COG itself. I don't know. I'll be looking for some extra sponsors. BSA really didn't advertise it very much. We used the 23 stakes in Orem to actually sponsor it and to advertise it. And those 23 stakes would take 23 aid stations along the way. We actually love to provide water, energy bars, and the stakes have provided that in the past, but we're going to go a little bit bigger now and try to get a sponsor. We'll still probably ask a minimal fee, something like $15 as it always is, to where we can provide more. I told Melanie I'd only take 5 minutes. I think I'm probably done, but I can tell you about all the marvelous stories of young people and old people crossing the finish line in tears, because they've done one of the hardest things they've ever done in their lives, and they're really proud of it. They're exhausted, and it builds a lot of character in them. So I don't know where we go from here. I wanted to make this presentation to you, hoping that maybe you could maybe include something as we get going in this again. It's not going to be BSA. It'll be called something different. I've had a great committee to work, people dedicated to building the youth of Utah Valley, and they're still on board with me. We're eager to have more people join us in putting this on. It's been a blast to do it. And so if you mayors are willing to get behind it with yourselves and maybe your youth council, however you'd like, we could use all the support we could get as we try to build the youth of Utah County.
Okay. Thank you for sharing this with us. Do you have contact information for if any of the cities or youth councils that we can pass on to them to reach out to you?
Yes, I gave Melanie my contact. I'll have her added into the information, my email address, my phone, and I'll be the point person now still, and I'm excited to bring on anybody that wants to join in the fray. So.
Perfect.
And what's the route? When I was a kid, it used to come down around West Mountain and through Goshen and Mona, and maybe it was a different 50/20, but is it in the Orem area, or where's it at? Just
Oh,
quick.
Brother Staley, that one around West Mountain was the worst one we ever did. It was so dark and tarantulas around there.
You guys aren't tough enough then, sorry.
I guess so. Right now, it's a great trail. We start at the Provo Boat Harbor. We follow the Provo Trail, river trail up to the mouth of the canyon. And then we go about 8 blocks to the west and we hop on the Murdoch Trail and take that all the way to Lehigh. That's 25 miles. And the kids will hit 23 aid stations in that amount of time. And then they turn around and come all the way back to the Provo Boat Harbor again. And you can see the start finish line on this picture here as to our start and our finish there. It's been a great thing. And I actually want to see it grow. Our kids need it more than ever.
That's great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Can we get the agenda back up? Okay, other business. We've got 2 items that have walked in. Michelle, if you want to go first on the 20 million emergency rental program, and then Mayor Johnson asked for a minute to discuss with the mayor's House Bill 82 and its impact.
Yes, thank you. I will be brief. I just wanted to make you all aware that an emergency rental assistance program will be rolling out in the next few weeks. Utah County received approximately $19.2 million to assist households with utilities and rent who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The state has received approximately $150 million. Some of that money will also come into Utah County. Over the next few weeks, we plan to roll out the application and the guidance and to publicize the program. And we will, part of our process, we would love for cities and towns to include the information in utility bills, newsletters, put links up onto your website so we can help the residents in your communities who are struggling to make rent, who are behind on rent, who need utility assistance. And so I anticipate it for the March COG meeting, we will have details and possibly even some electronic and paper flyers that we can get out to all the cities to help push that out to your residents.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Johnson.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate some time here, and I hope I can go through this as quickly as possible. I'm hoping that there's a few mayors out there, maybe even more than a few, that are a little bit concerned about House Bill 82. This is the bill that has been going through the House right now. to try to force all municipalities to take all their single-family housing zones and allow for apartments. And it seems like that may not be a big deal. We've been working on this and following this very closely. We've done quite a bit of analysis in Lehigh because of our growth rate, and there's some things we've done to be able to allow ADU units in here. But this bill actually causes some pretty significant technical problems that seem to be ignored. So I wanted to bring it to your attention, if that's okay. I think all the cities probably should be paying a little bit of attention to this. I know I testified Friday up at the House at the committee hearing. They voted to hold this bill. There's an alternative bill that's number 273 that came out today. But if you don't mind being patient with me just a minute, I'd like to just show you a couple maps. I'd like to just share my screen if that's possible. And I'm going to talk about Lehigh. So be patient with me, but I want you to think about how this might affect you, because there's some liability issues that you need to be concerned about and need to be able to ask your representatives that will be voting on this. Hopefully here. This isn't allowing me to share my screen. Is there something I have to do here, Michelle?
Do you have the share screen button on the bottom of your screen?
Yeah, I do, and I hit it and it gives me the option, but it will not pull up my computer.
Hold up. Melanie, do you have any filters on that will not allow Mayor Johnson to share a screen?
I have it set up to where anybody can share, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'll look into it right now. If you want, Mayor Johnson, can you email that to me real quick?
Yes, I probably can.
Okay.
If you'll just hold on for a moment, I'll email it through my other computer here in the room, so I don't have to interrupt this one.
Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, I just sent that to both you, Melanie and Michelle, so one of you two should be able to get that.
Mayor, what was the number of that bill?
It's 82, House Bill 82.
It's on our radar as well.
Okay.
We can see your screen, Mayor.
You can see my screen. Okay, well, let me try this now. Okay. Let me just open this up and maybe you'll be able to see this.
I feel like I need to go towards the light.
I can't. Yeah, I canceled sharing, and so this.
Yep.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. Unfortunately, that wasn't the one I wanted to share. So
You're getting there. Keep going.
okay. You know what? I think what I'll do is just, if you get it, just pull up my. There's one there called the talking points. You'll just pull that up when you get that. So let me explain to you, it's just some of the numbers as they're getting to there. I wanted to show you a map of Lehigh that we had, and it's color coded to show exactly how many ADU units we've planned for. So basically in Lehigh, we went through and we've calculated, we've done an analysis of the entire community based on our capacity of our water lines and our sewer lines. Yeah, there you go. Just leave that one up and I'll get to that. But I'll explain the map. And we've identified roughly about 40% of our community that is already has max density. So in other words, there is no room in these neighborhoods for additional capacity in either sewer or water. We have about 60% identified that we can allow ADUs. And so we actually passed an ordinance that allows for that, along with some impact fees that allows us to increase capacity in the sewer lines and the water lines as needed. I'd encourage every city, if you're concerned about capacities at all, that you go through a similar analysis. And I'm going to explain to you why. When we went through our analysis, we found that we could, when we hit about 2,000 ADU units in town, which is actually only 10% of our allowable neighborhoods, there was probably 5 different sewer pipes that would fail. And so that we would have to replace those. We've asked that all our citizens actually apply for a permit, pay their impact fees so that they'd be registered so we knew where they were. And as those ADUs were developed, we could run either parallel sewer pipes or increase the size of those to handle that flow capacity. Now, just so you know, and I'll get a little bit technical here and I apologize, but it's kind of the nature of the business I'm in, is when cities perform their zoning maps and put those together, the engineers are required by Utah State Code, by the Utah Administrative Code, to actually determine the size and capacity of sewer and water and traffic in the area. That's already a state code for them to do that. And the number that's generally applied on density of housing is 4.1 units. Now, if you look at this chart that's here in front of you, there's a chart up at the top and it's persons per household. And that goes through the years 2016 to 2020. And if you average that, this is from the census data. So this is from actual census that was just performed. We have 3.9 average people per household. So it's under that 4.1 mark now, but not a lot. We anticipate that the ADU units are going to be between or add an extra capacity of 1.2 to 2.0. Okay, so that's numbers important because what it tells you that roughly, at least in our numbers, but I suspect it's pretty typical across the board, that if you have over 10% ADU units in your community, you're going to exceed the capacity of some of your lines. The problem is with this bill is you're not going to know where those capacities are starting to exceed. They've discussed registering these units, and they discuss having the plumbing code met and the fire code met, and that's all well and good. But what we found out is we have about 2,000 units in Lehigh right now that we believe are being used as ADUs. Okay, at 2,100, we know we're going to surcharge our sewer system. We only have, out of those 2,000 units, 170 people that have come in for permits so that we know where they are. Okay. Now, if we have a failure in the system, then right now we can, if we can identify where those extra units are and if they were the reason for the failure and they haven't permitted, the liability is on them. But if they are permitted and if cities have to follow this bill, meaning they have to allow these everywhere, and there is a failure somewhere, that means the cities are always liable, regardless of what happens. Now, we're told in the arguments for the bill, they say that really we're not increasing the population because the people who want ADUs are those who are retired. They're empty nesters. They used to have 6 people in their home. Now they only have 2. They need extra income, and they're going to put 1 or 2 people in their basement. So net population hasn't changed. I'm going to tell you right now that we can't agree with that based on the numbers, the actual numbers we have in Lehigh. The second chart you see down there shows the age range distribution. From 25 to 54, that's 78% of our population. We believe that those empty nesters, those are typically those people over 55, and that only accounts for 22%. And in Lehigh, we have 5 different 55 and older communities. So these are people that even can't rent their basement because it's not allowed in those communities. Okay, that's actually by federal code. So where are they? That's the big question. We're struggling to know where they are. And I'm going to submit that when you start being required to build ADUs everywhere in your communities, you're probably not going to know where they are either, but you are going to have to carry the liabilities. So the infrastructure is one of the biggest problems that we're concerned about here. And it's not only just sewer and water, it's also transportation. Now, this bill originally was crafted to not require any parking on the properties that have the units. The bill is adjusted and asked for 1 parking stall. Now, what we're finding out in the units that we do know are in Lehigh is those who are actually renting their basements are younger people who have a very high mortgage because of the current market, and they're renting those to other families, younger families in their basements, also because they can't afford a mortgage. So we know it's just not happening that these are older people looking to rent their basement because they're lonely or they need the money. It's actually younger families that are doing it to supplement their mortgage payment. So that adds to the concern of the persons per household being a wrong estimation through those who are sponsoring the bill. There's also the concern about the parking. So we have some areas in Lehigh, and I suspect some of the larger cities, especially around the hills areas, have similar problems. Our roads are narrow enough that we don't allow parking on the streets in the wintertime. Okay, this bill will allow people to park in the winter along those roads, making it difficult to snowplow those. We already hit vehicles that are left on the we hit cars that are left on the roads in these wintertime times. We're not liable for those because we have an ordinance that allows no parking in the street during a storm. But we're concerned about this bill because it doesn't seem to articulate that, and there's no place for them to park. Apparently, as we understand it now, the only parking will be on the street, except for maybe one in the home, okay? So that is going to be another liability that's going to fall on all the cities, because if you start hitting the cars and they're allowed to park there, I'm going to tell you, I think that is a pretty significant problem. The other issue is water rights. So water rights now, they come to your city through the development process. And so when developers are developing, they bring water with their developments. And there is no water rights brought to the city through the ADU process, none. So there's no opportunity for those to be added to your system. Once again, if the population increases to a point that water demand is high, you will not have had the opportunity to provide water rights to supplement your water system, okay? So liability, a big issue. How you're going to support it is another. Truth in taxation is another issue. Now, the sponsor of the bill had told me that truth in taxation would help solve some of these problems, but we can't figure out how that's going to solve it, because primarily truth in taxation, all you do is tax your one home. The single home is taxed whether it has a basement or not. And truth in taxation means regardless of how many are living in the home, or if there's an accessory apartment there used as a business, it means it still gets taxed the same and the rate's the same. So there's no way to receive either through that fee or application fees or impact fees to pay for these improvements that need to be made. So that's as brief as I can get with this, but I'm just going to encourage everybody to look at this closely, look at your city, try to do analysis, because I think this is going to be a problem. And that's my spiel, guys. So Mayor Frost didn't want to do any fear mongering, but I did my best. But I don't know if I'm very good at it. Any questions?
I appreciate the analysis. That is a very important bill that's pretty scary. So,
yeah. Well, I think it definitely affects Orem, Provo. Like I say, many of the foothill communities. Yeah, I'm not sure where this is going, but I'm not, some of us are not having very effective communications in regards to making changes on this bill.
Yeah, I echo the concern, because we have a lot of accessory apartments, which would be the ADUs, and we don't know where they are, and people won't, they won't come and register or let us know. So, that's going to be a big issue. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor, I was able to send that concern up to the governor's office through his legislative staff. So hopefully they can take a look at that and help a little bit.
Well, I'm hoping we'll find some help or some relief here, and that they'll understand that this is really kind of a city by city basis situation, because every city does have to be different, but there's a reason for that. And we just simply can't carry the liabilities of these extra units when they've been forced upon us.
Yeah, that's what I think is the biggest problem. This should be a city by city thing, not a state thing. I mean, we know what's best for our cities. And it just bugs me to no end that they try to regulate the cities. That's not the way our government should work. It's just my opinion. Sorry.
Well, I actually think that's the opinion of most people who knows how our government works. So.
Well, even though we don't have the population you do, a few ADUs are going to impact us tremendously. So, I mean, I think even the small cities, the impacts will be just as great in our own way as they are on you bigger cities. Because you're right, we can't control because we don't know where they are, and the liabilities will have those same snow plowing problems up in Woodland Hills, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, well, you will. And I think of the emergency services personnel.
Yep.
If there's a fire, if there's something going on in the area, how are they going to know if there's another family in the basement?
Right.
Registered.
Right. And water, I mean, that's a big deal. So even to the cities, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
The unintended consequences could be horrendous.
Well, yeah, if the state was going to step forward and say, okay, we'll carry the risk with this, but we're not hearing that either. We're not having any conversations in regards to that.
No.
So, Mayor Johnson, the same thing that I keep saying, and I'll keep saying it. Every state legislative person should have initially been in city government as a council member or as a mayor, so they understand how things really work.
Well, it's particularly frustrating for me because we feel like we've done our share to encourage and promote ADUs. And then we're told, well, okay, thank you. But by the way, everywhere in town needs to have these, and that's just like, yeah, that's really hard to swallow. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. That was great.
Oh, Mayor Miller, you got muted.
Okay, I was gonna say our last item is just our tentative schedule for the 4th in March. Sounds like it'll be more than tentative because we got a few items rolling over, so we'll plan on having that meeting in March. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.